Elias Moreau, a 35-year-old lawyer from New Orleans with a reputation in tatters, had finally hit rock bottom. He'd sunk his last $500 into a plot of Louisiana Bayou land, purchased from a slick broker in a smoky backroom deal down by the docks. The broker, a man with shifty eyes and a perpetual grin, hadn't asked about Elias's disbarment or the bribes that had funded his sister's futile fight against tuberculosis. All he cared about was the cash, and Elias was desperate enough not to question the details. As his skiff cut through the murky waters, the humid air thick with the scent of cypress and decay, Elias gripped the deed like a lifeline. Behind him lay a wreckage of courtroom failures, betrayed clients, and a family grave that haunted his dreams. His sister, Genevieve, had been the light in his life, but the doctor's bills had driven him to corruption. Now, with her gone and his name synonymous with scandal, he sought only isolation, a quiet corner of the swamp where he could fish, forget, and perhaps rebuild some shred of dignity. The bayou whispered secrets as he navigated the twisting channels, Spanish moss draping like ghostly veils from the trees. Gators slid into the water with barely a ripple, and the distant call of a heron echoed his solitude. Elias's heart pounded with a mix of hope and dread. What if the land was worthless? Flooded, infested, or worse? But as the sun filtered through the canopy in golden shafts, he spotted it. Smoke rising lazily from a cluster of cypress huts on stilts, connected by rickety walkways over the water. This wasn't the abandoned wilderness he'd imagined. Below him stretched a thriving fishing camp, far beyond his meager expectations. A sturdy main cabin with a tin roof gleamed beside a boathouse packed with nets and traps. A dock held half a dozen pirogues, and a pen of live shrimp bubbled with activity. Chickens scratched in a fenced yard, and a vegetable patch burst with okra, tomatoes, and peppers. 3 figures moved through the scene with the fluid grace of those who knew every inch of this watery domain. Their Cajun attire, simple cotton dresses for the women, worn trousers for the man, and purposeful strides marked them as the soul of this place, a world they'd wrested from the swamp itself. The siblings didn't notice Elias at first. His instincts warred. Turn back, check his revolver tucked in his belt, or curiously wonder how long they'd been here and where they'd go if he enforced his claim. He poled his skiff closer, raising a hand in greeting as he tied off at the dock. The eldest, a woman in her late 20s with sharp features and hair tied back in a practical braid, spotted him first. She murmured something in rapid Cajun French to the others, and suddenly all 3 faced him, alert but unafraid, like gators sizing up an intruder. "Afternoon," Elias called from the dock, his voice carrying over the gentle lap of water. "I'm looking for the owner of this camp." "You're looking at us," the woman replied, her English laced with a thick Bayou accent but steady as the tide. "I'm Marie LeBlanc. This here's my brother Julien and our sister Celeste. What's your business, stranger?" Elias stepped onto the creaking boards with deliberate slowness, keeping his hands visible. "There's been a mix-up, I reckon. I've got a deed here, says I bought this plot from Remy Thibodeau in New Orleans. Paid good money for it." The siblings exchanged glances, a silent storm brewing in their eyes. Julien, mid-20s with a lean build and a scar across his cheek from some long-ago brawl, stepped forward, his fists clenched. "Remy Thibodeau. That no-good cousin of ours. He had no right to sell what ain't his. This camp's ours, built it from nothing after the big storm took our folks." Celeste, the youngest at 19, with wide eyes that held a quiet wisdom beyond her years, placed a hand on Julien's arm. "Easy, brother. Let's hear him out." She turned to Elias, her gaze probing. "Remy ran off with our aunt's savings last year, gambled it away in the city. He must have forged the papers or something. We've been here 5 years, turning this mud into a home." The ground, or rather the water beneath the dock, seemed to shift under Elias's feet, as it always did when his world unraveled. He surveyed the camp, the well-maintained boats, the thriving shrimp pens, the garden that spoke of endless toil against floods and pests. This wasn't the handiwork of a swindler like Remy. "How'd you manage it?" he asked, genuine curiosity creeping into his voice. 3 siblings in the bayou, with the world stacking odds against you." Marie crossed her arms, her expression a mix of pride and defiance. We came here with nothing but our pirogue and a few dollars after the hurricane of 2005. Lost our parents, our home in La Fourche. Julien knows the waters like his own veins, traps shrimp better than anyone. Celeste keeps the books, trades with the merchants upriver. Me? I handle the rest, mending nets, fending off poachers, making sure we don't starve. We're Cajuns. We survive. Julien spat into the water. And we don't need some city lawyer coming in with fancy papers to take it away. You best turn around, mister. Elias sank onto a nearby crate, the deed feeling like dead weight in his hand. So I bought a camp from a fraud, built by folks the law barely recognizes in these parts. Cajuns get cheated by outsiders all the time, banks, buyers, even the government damming up the rivers. He rubbed his temples. That's the shape of it, ain't it? Celeste nodded, her voice soft but firm. Pretty much. Remy probably laughed all the way to the card table. Question is, what you gonna do about it? Drive us off? We got nowhere else. Marie studied him closely. Or maybe you're not like the others. You look like a man running from something yourself. Silence hung heavy, broken only by the buzz of insects and the distant croak of frogs. Elias looked at the camp again, not just land, but a haven, a testament to grit and family bonds. Where would you all go? He asked quietly. Wherever the Bayou takes us, Julien growled, but Marie shot him a look. We'd rebuild, she said. Ain't our first storm, but it'd be a shame to tear down what's standing strong. Elias folded the deed and slipped it into his vest. How about we start with supper? Gumbo's simmering, I can smell it. Maybe we figure something that don't leave nobody adrift. The siblings shared a wary glance, but Celeste's eyes lit up. Why not? Can't hurt to talk over food. That night, under the lantern light in the main cabin, they gathered around a scarred wooden table laden with steaming gumbo, cornbread, and fresh okra. The air was thick with the aroma of rue and spices, a comfort Elias hadn't known in years. He spoke haltingly of New Orleans, the bustling courts, the bribes he'd taken to save Genevieve, the disbarment that followed when it all came crashing down. I thought I was helping her, he admitted, staring into his bowl. But I destroyed everything, my career, my name. Came here because there's nowhere left for a man like me. The LeBlancs listened, their initial suspicions softening. Marie shared their story, the hurricane that swallowed their childhood home, leaving them orphaned and penniless. We floated downriver in our daddy's old pirogue, half-starved, found this spot, muddy, full of snakes, but it was ours. Julien caught our first shrimp, Celeste planted the first seeds. I bartered with trappers for tools. We learned quick how to read the tides, spot gators before they spot you, haggle with city folk who think Cajuns are fools. How do you survive out here? Elias asked, genuinely awed. 3 young ones against floods, fever, and folks who'd steal your catch. Carefully, Julien said, his tone less hostile now, and by sticking together. We don't trust easy. Too many Remys in the world. Celeste leaned forward, her youthful optimism shining through. But we dream big. Want to buy a bigger boat, expand to oysters. Maybe even sell to the big markets in Baton Rouge. Elias slept in the boathouse that night, the gentle rock of water lulling him as he wrestled with his conscience. He held a legal deed to a place that morally belonged to these resilient siblings. He had $500 gone, no other prospects, and 3 strangers who'd shown him more hospitality than he'd deserved. By morning, as he mended a frayed net that didn't need mending, Marie approached, a mug of chicory coffee in hand. Sleep well? She asked. Better than in months, Elias replied, but I've been thinking. Dangerous habit, Marie said with a wry smile. What's on your mind? I've got a proposition, he said, setting down the net. This camp needs a name on the deed that outsiders respect. Someone to handle the banks, the merchants, the lawmen who cheat Cajuns at every turn. I need a fresh start, a chance to use my skills for something good instead of graft. He pulled out the deed. Partnership. My name stays on paper for protection, but we run it together. Profits split 4 ways. If I break trust, you boot me out, and I'll sign it over clean. Julien, overhearing from the dock, snorted. Why should we believe you? City folk always got an angle. "Because I've spent years breaking everything I touch," Elias said, meeting their eyes one by one. "Lost my sister, my honor. Y'all built something real here. I want to protect it, not steal it." Celeste's face brightened. "It could work. He knows the law. We could get better deals, avoid the swindlers." Marie called a huddle, their voices low in Cajun French, glances flicking Elias's way. Finally, Julien spoke, reluctant but resigned. "We want the full truth, no polished tales." So Elias laid it bare. The specific bribes, the clients he'd betrayed, the nights drowning in whiskey after Genevieve's funeral. "I'm not proud," he finished, "but I want to be the man who fixes instead of fractures." The siblings shared a long look. Marie extended her hand. "Partners, but our way, Cajun way. The law calls you owner, but this bayou's ours together, or it's nothing." "Agreed," Elias said, shaking firmly. Celeste grinned. "You're not just working here. You're living with us, eating with us, being family. If we're trusting you with our home, we need to know your heart." Elias nodded, a weight lifting from his chest. "I'd be honored." The first year was a cautious waltz through trust and trials. Elias proved his worth navigating deals with New Orleans merchants, securing fair prices for their shrimp that the siblings had never gotten before. He mended legal tangles when a rival trapper claimed their waters, using his old courtroom savvy to scare him off without a fight. Julien tested him constantly, leaving him to pole through treacherous channels alone or challenging him to mend a boat engine under pressure. But Elias learned, his city hands callousing as he trapped shrimp at dawn and hauled nets till dusk. Marie taught him the bayou's rhythms, reading the clouds for storms, spotting hidden eddies that could swallow a man whole. Her strategic mind planned expansions, a new shrimp pen, a smokehouse for preserving catches. Celeste's warmth made the camp feel like home. She shared stories of their parents, drawing Elias into their family lore while setting boundaries with gentle firmness. Together, they weathered challenges, a brutal flood that nearly washed away the garden, forcing them to rebuild higher on stilts. A fever outbreak that Celeste nursed them through with herbal remedies passed down from generations. Poachers who crept in at night, only to be chased off by Julien's shotgun and Elias's legal threats. The camp grew. More boats, bigger hauls, even a small trade in alligator hides that brought in extra cash. One evening, as a thunderstorm rumbled in the distance and lightning danced over the water, they sat on the porch, sipping moonshine from mason jars. Julien, now treating Elias like a brother, spoke first. "When Remy sold us out, I thought we'd lose it all. End up begging in the city." "What changed?" Elias asked, watching fireflies wink in the dusk. "We found each other," Marie said, nodding to her siblings. "Made our own rules. And now," she trailed off, glancing at Elias. "Now we've got a partner who fights for us," Celeste added, proving that trust can turn strangers into kin. Elias gazed at the camp, their camp, the expanded docks, the thriving pens, the family they'd forged amid the muck and mystery. "I came here for escape," he said, voice thick with emotion, "to prove I wasn't worthless. But I found something better. Folks who believed in me when I couldn't." The following summer, they launched their new boat. A sturdy vessel named Haven, built with profits from their best season yet. As it cut through the bayou under a fiery sunset, the siblings and Elias stood together, poles in hand, ready for whatever the waters brought. In the vast Louisiana swamp, 3 Cajun siblings and a man haunted by his past built something extraordinary. A family chosen, not born. A business rooted in trust, not trickery. A home that defied every flood and foe that said it couldn't endure. The bayou held their secrets. They held each other. And that was more than enough.